In this lesson, we're going to learn all about what is the string data type. Specifically, we're going to learn about what it is and some of its properties. We're going to learn how to create strings in Python and talk about multi-line strings and how to handle situations such as that. And so let's get started into strings. Before we begin and really get into the crux of what strings are and working with them, let's do the same thing we did in Module 2 in Module 3. I'm going to create a new folder. I'm going to call it Module 3 in my repository. And then I create a new file. And I'm going to do this and call this strings.py. And in this, I'm going to be using this to just start working with our strings. So remember, if dunder name is equal to dunder main is how we're going to do all of the executions of our code in there. And so let's get started with strings. The string data type is one of the fundamental Python data types. It can't be broken, and what that means is it really can't be broken into smaller values of different types. And so that's what a fundamental data type is. It's abbreviated by str in Python. We saw that in the previous module. We were going over the different type of data types. And if we print out a type of hello there, then we can see that it comes out as string. So I've got a string that says hello there. I do type around it and I print that out and boom, I've got Obi-Wan popping out and saying hello there. Well, some strings have some interesting properties to them. So let's mess around with this. Let's see. Obs. Let's see. Obs. Hello. We're going to make that hello there. Like this. A proper way. Now, what we can do with this and some of the interesting things is, and one of the first things we can do is find out what the length of that string is. We can do that by using the len function. So we do len and pass in obs hello in there. Let's see, str length is equal to that. And let's print out our str length. Like that. And let's see how that works. So I am going to cd into my module 3 folder in there, and then run python strings.py. And there we go. We get the length of that is 11. And what that means is that there are multiple numbers of characters in there. So the string data type is literally the stringing of multiple characters that are in there. So this is a character. The character H is in there. And that means that E is also a character, and L, and L, and O. And then this is actually a character as well. Even though we don't see necessarily its character, but we do. It's a space. And that's what that means. That's in there. So when we talk about strings that are literally strung together, those are what characters are. Now, strings can have what's called mappings to them. And that's usually either the ASCII or Unicode that are in there. And what that means is they're specifying what kind of character value that translates into the human readable letter, symbol, or command. So a actual numerical value has that in there. Let's kind of explore this a little bit here. So here's the ASCII mapping that's in there. ASCII has only about 256 characters, I believe. And each of those characters, or each of those numbers, represents a value. You can see the table up there. I'm hoping they have actually a better table right here. You can see this table right here of what this is. So if I go down and I try to find the letter A, which is right here, that actually is a value of 65. And that's the uppercase A. Now there's lowercase a, which is the value of 97, and you have all these different characters. So if you remember back in our original, our very first module, we talked about how the central processing unit, basically works with ones and zeros, just binary, on, off, on, off, on, off. Well, that's why really numbers are the only thing that it really truly understands. Binary numbers that's in there. And so when you have this on, off, on, off, on, off, when you chain them together, so if you have like a 1, 0, 0, that's going to be a value of 8, right? And then that value of 8 translates to something else. Well, you can do that with those different things. And that's what these mappings is for, is you're mapping a number to a specific characters. You string those characters all together, and now you have a string or a collection of those symbols that's in there. Let's kind of explore this a little bit further here. I've got my Obi's hello here. And what I want to do is I'm going to do something interesting. So for index and character and enumerate here, my Obi's hello, I want to print out this statement, index with this formatting, and then, oops, that is going to be my car in here. We're going to print this. Let's run this and see what this does. And you can see here a physical kind of representation of how hello there is now broken up into these different separate values. So we have H, and then E, and then L, and then L, and O. Now, you don't have to understand exactly what all is going on here, but I'm basically iterating over each one of those characters. I'm printing out its location inside of that string, and then its character value that's in there. You'll notice there's something odd about this number. When we typically count, we think of our first value being 1. But in Python, it's 0. The reason is we actually, Python uses a 0 index. That means its first value is actually starting with 0 instead of 1. So you have to think about this mentally, and oftentimes shift your values by 1 when you're doing that. But what this also means is that you can actually index into the string. We'll talk about that in a little bit, about how to work with that and do that. But think about that as we kind of do this. Each character has its own location inside of that string, and the locations start with an index of 0. So to create strings, well, we've already done that, right? We've done that here in this situation right here, right? So we've got a hello there, and it's just assignment. The creation of a string is literally just surrounding it by a quotation. The quotations can be anything from a double quotation to a single quotation like this, to a triple single quotation like this, to a triple quotation like this. So it could be any one of those 4 things. In fact, let me show you each of those here. So here's all the examples. These are all the different ways that you can create strings in there. So, for example, let's create another one. Let's do a quote. Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis? The wise. Like that. There's a kind of a longer string. How long is this string? It's 59 characters. So this guy has 59 characters in it. And that's how that works. Well, what if you wanted to write something inside of there? Or a quotation inside of there. So, for example, Luke's quote is equal to this: I'll never turn to the dark side. Like that. What is this going to do? Let's see what happens. I'm going to give you a hint. Visual Studio Code's actually pretty good about saying, hey, something's kind of odd going on here, but I'm not going to yell at you just quite yet. Let's see what happens. Well, we get a syntax error. And why do we get a syntax error? Well, that's because we have finished our quotations that's in there. You see, strings are created using delimiters. So a delimiter is one of these things right here. So we have a triple quotation right here, a triple double quotes, a triple single quotes, a double quotes, and a single quote in here. So this one, we've started our delimiter with a single quote, and then we've put another single quote to be the character that we wanted to be, meaning I'll, right? But that's been encountered. So as Python goes through and reads this character by character, it looks for that delimiter. It sees the first delimiter. Oh, he's creating a string here. And then I is the next character. So it's going to keep going until it sees that delimiter again. And then boom, it breaks. Well, this is easily fixed. Just wrap this with a double quotations like that. And now we can print this out. Like this. I'll never turn to the dark side. Wow. And it works perfectly fine right there. And so that's how you would kind of work with that. And that's how the delimiter works in there. What if you wanted to do a multi-lined string in there? So, for example, long quote. You can do it this way. The dark side of the Force is a pathway too many abilities some consider to be unnatural. But when you use the triple quotes, that enables you, that delimiter doesn't stop you from having that. If we change this to just a single quotes here, like this, you can see that we're going to get an error. We'll run this just to show you and prove to you that you do indeed get an error, a syntax error, an end of line while scanning the string literal. And that's because we didn't use the correct delimiter here. The triple quotes allow you to do multiple lines. There actually is another way that you could do this with a single line, and that's using what's called a special character. So if we did a /n like this, and then this like that, this is all one line, but we've thrown in this special character, which is the \n, and that means that there should be a new line in there. So we'll print this out. After we actually tell it to print out. Like that. And you'll see that voila, right here, we're on a new line there. So there you go. So that's how you work with multi-line strings. You can either use the triple quotes to be able to do whatever you want to do, or you can use special characters such as the \n to be able to do that in there. And that is how you create a string. Whether it's just a single small little string that you're doing that's held, such as just hello there, or something a little bit longer, such as, as Palpatine prompting Anakin, have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise? And then even longer ones where you can use either special characters such as the \n or the triple quotes to be able to create your multi-lined entries that's in there. Next up, we're going to talk about how to work with these strings. We've learned how to create them, but what if we want to combine them or split them or manipulate them in certain ways? Well, we're going to figure out how to do that in the next video.